Every generation, black people in this country built something real, whether it's neighborhoods, banks, grocery stores, or businesses. And every generation, it was taken, not lost, taken. You may have heard of Tulsa, aka Black Wall Street, which is still widely untaught history. This got a light shed on it with the HBO TV series Watchmen in 2019. And that's when I unfortunately learned about it. Imagine that, in my 30s, still learning about my own history because America always tries to omit the sins they've done to black people. But even with this, did you know that there was a successful coup d'etat on American soil and the federal government did nothing about it because it was black elected officials who were killed, burned, or put on trains and told never to return? The attempted erasure of these and many more stories like these are the reason I make content, because our ancestors fought and died for me to exist in this capacity I do today, and to show people everything in this country does indeed come back to race and is always that deep. But there are many more examples of white people burning down towns, killing black people with mob violence, and using every political tactic possible to ensure that we weren't able to thrive on our own. That level of obsession is deeply rooted in the DNA of America because white people never wanted black people to supersede them in any way. In 1921, Greenwood, Oklahoma had 35 blocks of black-owned businesses: hotels, law offices, a hospital, black doctors treating black patients, black lawyers keeping black money in black hands. In the middle of Jim Crow, Oklahoma had built something that didn't need white people to survive. That was the threat. Official trigger was an accusation against a young black man named Dick Rowland. The alleged victim never pressed charges. The case was dropped. But it didn't matter because the accusation was never really the point. It was an excuse to take out their envy and jealousy on black people who had the audacity to build and be successful. Within 24 hours, white mobs, some of them deputized by local officials, burned 35 blocks to the ground, shot people in the streets, dropped incendiary devices from private planes, 300 people killed, 10,000 left homeless. Then the city passed ordinances to make it illegal to rebuild. That is a coordinated economic assassination and systematic oppression, all because of black success. Rosewood, Elaine, Atlanta, East St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, Skolem, Texas, Ochoa, Florida, different years, different triggers, the same pattern. A black community builds something real. White resentment reaches a boiling point and they set it on fire with absolutely zero consequence. Clinton, North Carolina had a functioning interracial democracy. Black elected officials, black-owned businesses, a black newspaper called The Daily Record. Editor Alex Manley had the audacity to print the truth that white men accusing black men of preying on white women were often covering for relationships white women had chosen freely. Shocker. The editorial was audacious, and the one thing an abuser hates is when the abused have audacity. White supremacist Democrats ran a coordinated campaign to steal the November election. When that wasn't enough, the day after, a mob of over 2,000 men burned the Daily Record, forced the legally elected government to resign at gunpoint, and replaced them on the spot. Between 60 and 300 black people were killed. Some leaders were put on trains and told never to come back. The federal government did nothing. It was the only successful coup d'etat on American soil buried in textbooks for over a century. What happened in Wilmington ended Reconstruction's last real promise that black political power once gained could actually mean something. And the craziest part about all of this is every single scenario, the people who were doing the killing, the burning, the shooting were mostly poor white people who had more in common economically with black families they were attacking than the politicians who organized them. But they've been sold something. W.E.B. Du Bois called it the psychological wage of whiteness, the idea that even if you had nothing, at least you weren't black. Racism was the only semblance of power these people would ever have, and that holds true today, and we see that alive and well with things like MAGA. Eventually, as America was rapidly developing, the architects of this country realized something. You don't need a mob to disenfranchise black people if you have the law and a civil engineer. That ushered in a new wave of black oppression: eminent domain and urban renewal, seizing land for the greater good. They built Lake Lanier over a black community of Oscarville, Georgia. They seized Seneca Village, where half the residents owned their property, and turned it into Central Park. Then came the Federal Highway Act of 1956. You didn't need to burn a neighborhood down anymore. You just labeled it blighted and ran 6 lanes of concrete straight through its heart. Look at your own city. I guarantee you the interstate cuts right through what used to be a black middle class neighborhood. In St. Paul, it was Rondo. In Miami, it was Overtown. In Nashville, it was North Jefferson Street. They called it urban renewal. The people living through it called it something else: Negro removal. So when someone tells you to stop making everything about race, understand For the people who designed this country's geography, its laws, its highway systems, it has always been about race. Wealth in America is never just about what you earn. It's about what you inherit. It's the deed, it's the equity, the neighborhood that holds its value. But you can't inherit a home that's sitting at the bottom of a lake like Lake Lanier, and you can't build on land that's now an off-ramp for I-95 like Overtown in Miami. The history is under the pavement or under the water. Stay black, stay blessed.